All right. Hello, everyone. So I am kind of bored, and I have friends that play Street Fighter 6. And with the season, I believe this is season 3 of Street Fighter 6 happening with returning characters. It was Alex, Sagat, Ingrid, and Sea Viper. I figured I would do something a little fun and make a tier list of the most likely returning characters of Street Fighter. So I'm going to go through the entire roster in the Street Fighter series that has not been put into Street Fighter 6, and I am going to rank them on how I feel their chances of returning into the series is for Street Fighter 6. So obviously we have the top here, 100% will return. These are characters that I feel like will return in Street Fighter 6 at some point. Um, and then down below, we got great chance of returning. These are like 75% chance. Like, he's got a pretty decent shot of coming in, but there's still like a slight possibility that these characters don't come into Street Fighter 6. After that, we got 50-50. These are characters that are like, maybe, maybe not. Not really sure. Like, there could be an argument made for them being put in the game, and also an argument being made maybe not coming into the game. After that, we have not likely slash shock value. So my good example of this is Ingrid, who is coming into the game sometime within this season. Ingrid, not a popular character. She was only ever in Alpha 3, Street Fighter Alpha 3. And I believe it was Max, which was the PlayStation Portable version of the game. So I don't think anyone barely even knew she existed. So bringing her back into Street Fighter 6 was a shock value character. So basically like a dark horse. Not likely. These are like characters. They got like a 25% chance of maybe making it into the roster for Street Fighter 6 further down the line. And then obviously, last category, no one cares. These are characters that are either very unpopular, nobody knows about, or just straight up nobody just cares about these characters. And the way I'm breaking this down, my method here is character lore and links. So for like what's the lore of the character? How do they link up with the cast that's currently in Street Fighter 6? The second one is fighting style. How do they fight? What's mostly how they fight? What's their game plan? All that other stuff. And then the last thing I'm basing this all on is fan base. Like, how popular are these characters? Um, so again, like with Ingrid, definitely not popular, but was still announced as a character, which is why she's a shock value character. So moving down, as you can see, there's a lot of characters on this list, but the funny part is that I am not including the characters from the EX series, which was an Arika fighting game series, and not including Street Fighter, the movie, the arcade, and there's actually a couple of characters down here that you like fight in the story mode of Street Fighter 5 like once or twice. I don't know why they're in here, but we're not including those either. We're just going to stick with the main line Street Fighter games of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Alpha. Alpha's kind of in the middle there. So that's what we're working with. And let's go ahead and start, I suppose. Start with Birdie. Birdie, geez. I think with his character lore, he was in Street Fighter 1, but supposedly he was sick, which, for reference, Street Fighter 1, Birdie was a white guy, and then they made Birdie a black guy, and Alpha, when he made his debut there, and I think the reason they said was because he was sick, quote unquote, like had the flu or something. But anyway, as far as character lore goes, he's not really that important to the grand story of Street Fighter. He's just kind of like a punk rocky street fight guy. He kind of makes a return in he makes a return in Street Fighter 5, and he actually is not that relevant, I would say. He doesn't really have a whole lot of character links with the current cast of Street Fighter. Fighting style, he's just like a brute brawler. Not really a whole lot of shenanigans to him that much, and I don't feel like he's that popular. But the fact that he was in Street Fighter 5 recently, I'm going to put him in not likely slash shock value. I could see them possibly bringing him back as maybe like a shock value character. But I don't really see him as a 50-50. Um, Next up, we have Eagle. He was only ever in Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max, which I think is where Ingrid came from. Eagle started in Street Fighter 1 as a character he fought against, and really not that much is known about him. He doesn't really have any links to anybody that I know of. His fighting style is mostly just using his batons. Again, there's really no fan base for him, but unlike Birdie, I definitely don't see him moving anywhere out of the um, no one cares section. So yeah, I don't see anything happening there. We're pretty much in the Street Fighter One cast right now, which a lot of these honestly are going to go into the bottom tier. Geki is up next. So Geki, I believe storyline wise, he is, well, obviously he looks like a ninja and he's got this claw apparatus. I believe story lore wise, he's the one that trains Vega in the art of ninjutsu, which is why Vega has the claw. So I see him having that link with Vega at least. Fighting style, I have no idea because you don't play as him at all. I would assume it would be pretty similar to Vega. And obviously, he doesn't really have a fan base. No one of the Street Fighter One cast has a fan base except for Ryu and Ken and Sagat for obvious reasons. But you know what? I think he's got a small chance, and I will explain that when we get to Vega. Um, Next up, we have Gen. So Gen, uh, character lore wise, he is a very old, angry man, and he has had plenty of run-ins with Akuma. He has fought him a bunch of times, and he actually wanted to fight him to the death. I believe storyline-wise, he is dead, but this is Street Fighter. No one stays dead for too long. And with that Akuma link and the fact that his fighting style is very much like two extreme styles you can choose between, which is I don't think represented at all in Street Fighter 6 at the moment. Um, I think he has a 50-50 shot of coming back. I think Gen would be a very interesting character to see come back, especially in the world of Street Fighter 6. I think there is a decent chance that he could actually turn out to be something really cool. And with that Akuma link, I think there is a possibility that he could come back. Joe, geez, no one cares about Joe. Joe is just a regular dude. Um, and actually, we're going to go ahead. Well, no, what? No, we'll just stay with Joe real quick. Really, Joe's only claim to fame is that in the Street Fighter 2 arcade attract mode, where you see the two dudes fight in front of the building, and then the guy punches the other dude, and then it zooms up the building and says Street Fighter 2. Joe is the dude that knocks out that guy. And actually, now we'll go to that guy, Mike. Um, Mike is just kind of like a street fighting boxer. Um, so with Joe and Mike, there really is no character lore or links really to any of the other cast that I know of. And I believe the fighting style for Joe at least is like a amateur kickboxer, and Mike is a just regular boxer. And there's obviously no fan base for any of those guys. So I don't see them. I don't see either of them coming back at all, honestly. So Lee. Lee is, I believe, storyline wise, like the uncle to Yun and Yang, who are the twins in Street Fighter 3, which we will talk about when we get to them. I believe storyline wise, he's supposed to be dead, but that could change. Um, but he doesn't really have any links to anyone that is currently in the Street Fighter 6 cast. So there's not really any reason to think that he would get out of the no one cares tier. That's just me. Retsu. So Retsu, ironically enough, weirdly enough, is in the World Tour mode of Street Fighter 6. He is a character that you do missions for. Um, I think it's actually pretty neat that he's in that game. Street Fighter 6, they are doing some small, like, representative things of Street Fighter 1, which I find interesting. Um, And I honestly think this is just me, my my hypothetical, but I think it would be really neat if in one of the later seasons they actually made him a legit character and brought him into the fold. I think it would be cool. Character lore and link wise, I think he also is linked to Akuma in some way. I think that they either fought each other or Retsu actually helped Akuma do something. I'm not exactly sure what. Um, he's some sort of fighting monk, and I know he doesn't really have much of a fan base. But you know what? While it's not likely, I think there is a small chance that he could be brought in to a following season of Street Fighter 6 for a character. And I would actually be open to seeing that. That'd be cool. Now we're moving into Adon. Adon is storyline wise linked to Sagat, who was just released into Street Fighter 6 as of this video. And being his pupil or protege, I'm going to say, you know what? Adon now has a 50-50 shot of popping up. Now that Sagat's in the game, I'm not going to say he'll be in the following season, but I could see maybe another season, maybe 2 seasons or 3 seasons past our current one. And he might have a good shot. I can see Adon popping up. Fighting style, a different kind of Muay Thai that Sagat kind of practices. So having two Muay Thai characters would be interesting. Adon definitely does not play like Sagat, but it would just be interesting to have that contrasting style. There is a small fan base for Adon, but I am not 100% sure that is really huge. He was a sub boss in Street Fighter 1, and then he popped up again in Alpha, and then he was last seen in 4, last playable in Street Fighter 4. All right, now we're moving into the Street Fighter 2 cast. We got Balrog, or M. Bison if you're in Japan, or Boxer. Let's just say Boxer. Balrog will be the first 100% will return character I'll put up. I am pretty much so in my mind there are characters that have to be in a Street Fighter game in order for it to feel like a Street Fighter game. And a lot of the original Street Fighter 2 cast, and I'm including the boss characters, feel like those characters have to be in there. So Balrog slash Boxer. Lore wise, he has links with M. Bison, who's in the game, links with Sagat, who's in the game, links with Ed, who's in the game. There's just, I feel there is so many character links to Balrog that there is absolutely 100% this guy will return. And with his way different fighting style to Ed, Ed is very much a technical finesse fireball throwing boxer. Balrog is just all about pure brute power. And I feel like that could be well represented with Balrog coming back. I definitely see Balrog coming back 100%. Same thing with Vega or Balrog if you're in Japan, or Claw. Claw, 100%. Vega will be returning. Again, character lore wise and links, he has so many links with Bison, with Sagat, with just basically the Four Kings is what they were called. I 100% definitely see Vega coming back into the Street Fighter 6 world 100%. And which will bring me now to Vega with the not likely shock value. If Vega is 100% coming back, there maybe is a small chance that Geki could find a spot. Again, not likely, but that's just my thought process. T-Hawk, man, T-Hawk, this one's gonna be kind of weird. Honestly, with Lily in the game representing his tribe, and pretty much doing a lot of his moveset, the only difference between her and T-Hawk is that T-Hawk doesn't have any like so Lily can stack up win stacks and make her moves more powerful, and T-Hawk just doesn't have that. I don't see, other than the Lily connection, there's really no other character links that I can think of for T-Hawk. His fighting style is almost exactly like Lily's, command grab character for the most part. She is playing a little bit differently though because of her wind stacking abilities. But the fan base for T-Hawk is just not there. I think T-Hawk is actually one of the least popular characters that was in the Street Fighter Two in the Street Fighter Two universe. He did return in Street Fighter 4, but his popularity still wasn't that big. So I think no one kind of cares about T-Hawk, so he probably will not be returning. Next up, we have Fei Long. So Fei Long's an interesting one. Um, I'm actually going to put him in no one cares, but it's not because no one cares about Fei Long. I know he has a big fan base, but here's the problem: is that there's been stories going around for the past few years where the estate of Bruce Lee, who obviously Fei Long is kind of based upon, has been going around and pretty much like filing lawsuits against people and characters that use people and characters that are based off Bruce Lee. And I believe I read some article on Event Hubs a long time ago where they were interviewing a designer or somebody in Capcom, and they had asked about Fei Long. And the long and short of it was is that the person they interviewed said, "You will probably never see Fei Long again because Capcom does not want to run the risk of getting sued by the estate of Bruce Lee." So while I know a bunch of people like Fei Long and they care about Fei Long, they probably will not get him because they don't want to get sued, which is kind of sad. Violent Ken. So Violent Ken is he was playable in Ultra Street Fighter 2, which was the version of Street Fighter 2 that was released on the Nintendo Switch, and he is basically Ken with psycho powers, and he is way overpowered in that game. So here's my theory. Character lore wise, Ken's already in the game, and he is also in a very dark place. He's lost everything, he's on the run. There could be a justifiable story possibility that somehow Bison or what have you, something happens where Ken becomes Violent Ken. I don't see that happening, but I mean, it's a possibility. If he did come into the game, I'm sure the fighting style would just be insane because he could do like teleports and dashes. He's basically just a Bison Ken. The fan base, I don't really know if Violent Ken really has a fan base. He was only in one game for one system. So I will actually include him. Yeah, I'll keep him where he is. Shock value character. Not likely, but I could see them bringing him back as a shock value character. So that's where I put Violent Ken. Next up, we got Nash or Charlie. So character lore wise, Nash was first introduced in Alpha. He basically taught Guile how to do sonic booms. He, storyline wise, I think is a much more powerful Guile. But he was killed by M. Bison at the end of Alpha, and then he was brought back in Street Fighter V. He was like resurrected. He's like all like half zombie and kind of weird. I actually don't know where he goes after 5. I don't know if he's dead or not. I know there was a story mode in Street Fighter 5, like an actual cinematic story mode that I kind of blocked out of my head because it was so middling and kind of just bad. So I don't know if he's alive or not. But as far as him coming into Street Fighter 6 as a character, I'll go 50-50. Guile is in the game. I don't know if he ever mentions Charlie in World Tour or not. I haven't done any of his World Tour stuff. But I can definitely see Nash coming into the game, especially since he was in the last game, and he was fairly popular. There is a small fan base for him, so I can definitely, he's got a chance at coming in. He has a decent chance. Dan. Ooh, boy. Dan. So a joke character. He was made in Alpha. He's definitely not powerful. He's consistently one of the lower tier characters of the game. He's only there as like comedic relief for the most part. But lore wise, he does have a storyline link with Blanca. And I guess he also theoretically would have a storyline link with Ryu. because I think he wanted to teach Ryu his Psycho arts, which is just like he's just another Shoto character for the most part, and not a really good one. Um, so I'm just gonna, you know what, where he's at now, I'm gonna stick with him there. He's got like a 25% chance of coming back. I know his fan base is actually pretty sizable. I know a lot of people actually love Dan, but I think that it's not gonna be enough. I think it's just 25% of him coming back. Guy. All right, Guy. Obviously was a character in Final Fight, and then he was brought into Alpha as a playable character, and then he came back in 4. He is a practitioner of Bushin Ryu, which I believe Kimberly is a practitioner of. I think he might have actually trained her. I'm not exactly sure of that. So, with World Tour taking place in Metro City, and I do have a friend who is very adamant that they will release a Metro City character pack that has just nothing but characters of Metro City. Um, you know what? I think Guy has a. Hmm, you know what? I think Guy has a 50% chance of returning. The Metro City link, the Kim link. Um, the only problem is the fighting style. Him and Kimberly, I mean, they don't have a very similar fighting style, uh, but it's just enough where I don't know if they could make him different enough to totally offset them being possibly the same character. I mean, I could be proven wrong though. Not really much of a fan. I don't. I think there's probably a fan base for Guy, but it's not rabid or anything. I don't think it's anything crazy. Rose. Character lore and link wise, I mean, Bison's in the game now, and she has a link with him. Storyline wise, I think. But that's really about it. I don't see a real strong justification for having Rose in the game. Her fighting style is really weird and magical based, and I think they're mostly trying to stay away from that in Street Fighter 6. But then again, Ingrid's in the game, and she is nothing but magic character for the most part. But still, I think I'm gonna put her in the no one cares. I mean, I know she has a sizable fan base, but again, not I don't think she has that rabid of a fan base. I think she's just like kind of there. She was brought back in 5 for the final season, and they really did kind of like change the way she played quite a bit. Um, but I don't think she's coming back in 6. I don't see a strong enough link there. Sodom, boy, yeah, he really only has like the Metro City link for the most part, which is where World Tour takes place. And Sodom also holds the distinction of being the only Alpha Series character to not be playable outside the Alpha Series. He never came back for 3 or 4 or 5. He's been in the background of some of those stages, but he was never playable. And I honestly think they're just going to keep him in the Alpha Series, which is sad. The limited time I played Alpha, I think he was an interesting character. He's definitely a weirdo, and I like my weirdos. So but unfortunately, there's really no fan base for him. His fighting style is kind of weird and weapon based, but he's also a grappler, which would be interesting to see in 6. But as far as like character lore and links, there's really not much there. He's just an American guy who was obsessed with Japanese culture, and he was a boss character of the Mad Gear Gang, which ran the underground of Metro City for the most part. Or yeah, Metro City. So I don't think he's getting out of Alpha. I think he's just gonna stick around in those games and not be playable anymore. Rolento, kind of a similar story to Sodom, but I think he's got a better chance of getting out of the no one cares category than Sodom. Rolento was playable in Street Fighter 4, and his big whole thing was he wanted to make a utopia for like mercenary soldiers or something like that. The only reason I think I'm putting him higher is because he does have an additional appearance outside of the Alpha series. There is a Metro City connection, but I mean, it's not necessarily a strong one, but not strong enough that I would put him any higher on the list. I think Relento is just kind of there. Um, I don't see him really coming back, but he's got a better chance than Sodom, that's for sure. Sakura. Ooh, boy. So Sakura is interesting. I think she actually has a really great chance of returning, if only because of the fact that wherever Ryu goes, Sakura is not that far behind. So, case in point, she obviously was an alpha, and her whole story is that she wanted Ryu to train her, and she wants to get better, like Ryu. And so Ryu kind of reluctantly took her on as a pupil, and then she became a character in Street Fighter 4, and then she became a character in Street Fighter 5 as well. So, I mean, if we're just basing it on pattern, if we're using a game, then Sakura not that far behind, I feel. So I think she has a really good chance of returning. I'm not going to say 100% because there could be a chance that they're just like, okay, you know what, never mind. We're just gonna let her chill for a minute. Um, I don't know because I feel like after every Street Fighter game has had their run of seasons, the amount of characters that are considered Shoto characters like Ken and Ryu are usually pretty high. I mean, they all play slightly differently, but they all have a Dragon Punch. They all have a Fireball or some sort of equivalent to that, and they all have like a Hurricane Kick or something equivalent. So I'm going to say she has a great chance of returning. And again, these could all change depending on how I'm feeling. Evil Ryu. Oh man. Um, I I don't think I think they're gonna let Evil Ryu just kind of take a break. But then again, I don't know. Well, mm, you know what? I'll say not likely. Um, he's not likely coming back, but I can totally see them doing like a shock value kind of a thing where Evil Ryu's back, like maybe around season 4, like a hidden character or something like that. Um, I'm usually not a big fan of evil characters for the most part because I kind of feel like it's like a wasted slot for the most part. Like, oh, okay, it's an evil character. They play differently. They usually have more damage, but it also means they usually have a lot less health. So I don't know. I think the chances of Evil Ryu coming out 4-6 not really high, but I can see that they really wanted to pull out a character out of nowhere. Shinakuma, I don't actually know why I even have him here, but I think he was playable maybe in one of the alpha games. But I'm gonna go ahead and say Shinakuma. No, they are not gonna care. I don't think Street Fighter 6. I don't think Capcom cares about Shin Akuma enough to actually put in the work and make him a playable character. They're just gonna let him. Akuma's already badass enough as it is. They don't need to make a Shin Akuma. Cody. Oh man. So Cody, I feel again Metro City. Oh God, I'm doing this on my phone, so I apologize if that happens again, which probably will. I think Cody has a really great chance of returning. I'm not going to say 100%, but I think he has a really great chance of returning, given that World Tour is in Metro City. And so, storyline wise, Final Fight, he was in that game. Um, when then he became a member of the Alpha series, when he was a prisoner, he got arrested for something. I forget the actual lore to that part, but eventually he came out in 4, and then 5 is where he had like a real good character change, where he became the mayor of Metro City. And so if you're running around Metro City doing all sorts of stuff in World Tour mode, I feel like the mayor of Metro City not that far behind. I think Cody has a really really good chance of returning, and that's really all I gotta say. And I'm only saying that because the only like character lore or links he has to Street Fighter 6 is that it 6 is World Tour mode, and predominantly a lot of the stages are in Metro City. So that's just a weird call for me, but I think that's where that's happening. Um, but yeah, the fan base for Cody, I feel like the fan base is pretty high for Cody. I feel like Street Fighter 5 actually helped him quite a bit as far as character recognition goes. So moving on. Okay, so I'm going to include both of these characters all in one. I don't know which is which. I'm always confused every time I see them. One of them's called Julie. One of them's called Junie. They were uh, they were only in Street Fighter Alpha. So okay. So actually, Saddam is not the only character that is stuck in the Alpha series hole. Actually, Julie and Junie are. But unlike Saddam, Julie and Junie, I feel like they have no personalities at all. They're not really. There's really no character links they have other than Cammy's in the game, and that's about it. Although Julie, I'm not exactly sure again which one's Julie, but okay. So T Hawk over here went after either Julie or Julie. Which one of these two are Julie? Because he's a part of their tribe and he took her back, and I guess they settled down, have a family, whatever. Not important because they are never coming back into this game. So, yeah, fighting style, I feel like they're like the same thing as Cammy. So Cammy's already in the game. You don't really need any more Cammies, and the fan base for those two are just not there. However, the fan base for Karin Kanzuki, very vocal, very popular. Um, Karin, I'm going to say 50-50 shot of coming back because she was such a integral part in the lore of Street Fighter V. She has quite a bit of connections to she has quite a bit of connections to the Street Fighter universe as it sits currently. The fighting style with the Rekkas, I feel like some people would like to have a Rekka type character that isn't solely reliant on drink levels like Jamie is, and Karin can definitely fit that bill. And I know the fan base is pretty high for Karin Kanzuki, so I think there is a decent chance that she could become a character in Street Fighter Six eventually down the line. Um, but I think that's just my thought process on it. And if Sakura becomes a character in Street Fighter Six, which I'm predicting is a very good chance of happening, then that gives Karin Kanzuki a even better chance at becoming a DLC character because those two are inextricably linked as well. Rainbow Mika, our Mika. So this is Zangief's protege. Zangief is obviously in the game. I main Zangief. And she was in 5, and before that she was in the Alpha series. I think she was only in Alpha 3. Where do I think she has a chance? I know Zangief is in the game, but I I, I think she's not likely to come back. She had a very strong run in Street Fighter V when it was initially released, and then they kind of like really nerfed her as a character quite a bit as the seasons rolled on. So her popularity kind of waned a little bit. But really, her only link, character lore wise, is Zangief, and Zangief, I feel like, is not that like important in Street Fighter lore for the most part. So I know her fan base is actually pretty high, like a lot of females actually in Street Fighter, I would imagine. But I'm going to go ahead and say that she is not likely to return. And if she does get returned, it's going to be like a shock value thing. I think they could possibly make her return and be like an evil heel character and go against Zangief, but I don't think they would pull that trigger. I think that would be an interesting character development arc, but like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. Maki. Maki was in Alpha 3. I don't know if it was Max or not. But she is also a Final Fight character. I think she was in Final Fight 3. So she has a character link with, I guess, Cody and Guy and all of them. And then in a very long roundabout way, she could probably have a link with Kimberly because of Guy. But yeah, I don't. Nobody cares about Maki. I don't think a lot of people even know she even exists in the Street Fighter universe. So yeah, that's where she sits. Dudley, we're getting into the third strike, the Street Fighter 3 third strike characters. So with Ed in the game, you already have a technical boxing character, but Ed also has psycho powers, so he has a lot of like magical hoodoo voodoo stuff, like fireballs and like psycho grabs and stuff like that. Uh, and with Street Fighter 6, storyline wise, being very close to 3, I'm going to say Dudley is a 50-50 shot of coming back. I'm not going to sit here and say that, it's definite. I know Dudley has a quite strong fan base following. He was in Third Strike, Street Fighter 3, that is, and he was also in 4, but both of his storylines in those games were not necessarily important. I think in Street Fighter 3, he was like trying to get back a car that the boss of Street Fighter 3, Gil, had taken from him. And then I'm not exactly sure what his story was in 4, but I feel like it was not that important. Um, so if they brought him back, it would definitely just be like the fans were clamoring for Dudley to come back. Um, so I'm going to say 50-50 though, because it would be nice to have a technical boxing character that didn't have fireballs, and it would actually go well against Balrog's archetype of just being a powerhouse boxer. So I think Dudley would have a 50-50 chance coming back. Ibuki's going to be a hard one. Ibuki and Kimberly, which they pretty much play a lot of the same. Ibuki has bombs. Kimberly has her spray cans, which acts as bombs. Ibuki has like little teleports that she can go across the screen and fake people out. Kimberly also has that to a much higher degree. So I feel like they play too much alike. But then again, this is Street Fighter. That doesn't necessarily stop them from doing things like that, because technically Ryu and Ken kind of play alike, but then as the series progressed, Ken became more Dragon Punch fire based, while Ryu became more Fireball electricity based. So if they were to bring Ibuki back, they might have to do something to very much change up the way she plays, which I'm not sure a lot of Ibuki fans would even really like. Um, but I will say her fan base is actually pretty high. So I'm going to go ahead and put her in 50-50, really because of the fan base. And to me personally, it would be interesting to see what they could do with Ibuki, with that being that Kimberly is in the game. I don't know if they could really do anything much different, but it would be interesting. I think she's got a 50-50 shot. Unfortunately, Necro, I'm going to say no one cares. Necro's fighting style, very much, he's got like stretchy limbs like Dalsim, who's in Street Fighter 6. He's got electric attacks like Blanka, who's in Street Fighter 6. There's really no other things he has that really separates him from those two characters. And I feel like there's not really a whole lot of fan base out there for Necro. While Street Fighter 3, particularly Third Strike, has a huge fan base, I don't feel like it's very big for Necro in particular. Um, Character lore wise, I don't really think he has any character lore or any character links with anyone that's in Street Fighter 6. I'm trying to think. I don't really think there's anything there for Necro. So I don't see Necro coming back at all. I think the last time we saw Necro, he was a background character for a Halloween stage in Street Fighter V, and I think he's just going to be relegated to like a guy that pops up in the corners here and there. But I don't see him coming back as a playable character, at least for Street Fighter 6. Oro, I can actually, you know what? I can actually see Oro coming back. 50-50 chance. I'm not going to say a 75% chance. The fact that Oro came in to Street Fighter V, the very last season, which was like basically Street Fighter V's final season, was like a make good from people who got control of the Street Fighter franchise after the main guy left the company. And they were like, hey, we're going to do this final season to make sure Street Fighter 6 goes well, and we're going to make this season with a bunch of characters that we figured you guys would love to have. And that Street Fighter V season was Dan, Rose, Oro. Oh God, who was the other one? There was another character, I think, and then Luke was the final character. Oh, it was Akira, who we'll talk about here in a minute. But Oro, Yeah, he's definitely a fan base kind of favorite for Third Strike. I don't necessarily think, and fighting style wise, there's definitely no one that really fights like Oro. I'll say that much. As far as character links go, he's weird. He's got a link with Ryu. He's got a link with who's the other one that he's got a link with? I'm blanking off my top of my head, but yeah, I can definitely see Oro coming back. Mainly also because he was like the last season in five, and I think Oro's just got a very strong chance of maybe coming in, just a 50-50 chance. So Sean, all right, here's my theory. So Sean in Third Strike is a pupil of Ken Masters. Ken Masters is currently on the run and has lost everything, with Street Fighter 6 being after Street Fighter 3 in the timeline. I think Sean has a very good chance of returning, and the storyline lore wise, he could help Ken. He could come after Ken. He can help Ken with whatever the heck is going on there. So I can actually I see a great chance of Sean returning. Not 100%. I will say that the 100% characters are very, very few that I'm willing to say will 100% return. But I think Sean has a really good chance of returning, if only because of the Ken lore. Now, the story in my head, like Sean going to help Ken, like I can see that. Um, but we will have to see. As far as his fighting style, also another Shoto character, but kind of weird. He's more basketball based, where like he uses basketballs as projectiles. But not even that. He also has a fireball super that is notoriously bad, but that's neither here nor there. And there is a small fan base for Sean. There is a small fan base for Sean, but only because he is incredibly a low tier character in Third Strike, and there are people out there that just love playing as a low tier character and getting wins off people who play a higher tier character. But I can definitely see Sean coming back for sure. Yang and Yun. I'm gonna go ahead and treat these guys as kind of like the same, even though they're not. I believe that the twins have a great chance of returning, both of them. And my reasoning being, character lore wise, they are related somehow to Jamie. I don't think they're blood related, but they are related to the story wise. They're also story related to Chun Li, who was also in the game. Um, and I cannot remember the name of Yang's selectable third super art, but Yun's Ganajin, both of those super arts, I feel like would really do well in the world of Street Fighter 6. Um, I feel like that, you know, they would fit in perfectly well, especially the style of Street Fighter 6. There is, as much as it pains me because I don't like fighting against them, I can definitely see them coming back though. A good chance, a great chance of returning. The fan base for them also very, very high. For Yun especially, Yun is a very high tier and arguably one of the highest tier characters in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. It's really just a battle between Yun and Chun Li on who like the better character is in that game. They also showed up in Street Fighter 4. They were incredibly broken in Street Fighter 4. Yun especially. I mean, Yang is pretty good too, but he's not as broken as Yun most of the time. And Yun also really did kind of mess up Street Fighter 4 for quite a long time. Gil, the third strike Street Fighter 3 boss character, Gil. Uh, Again, I've not gone completely through World Tour mode. Gil is the leader of the Illuminati, which I know sounds kind of weird, but it is what it is. As far as I know, the Illuminati is not really mentioned at all in Street Fighter 6. So I'm willing to bet they're just going to leave Gil kind of out. So I don't see Gil coming back. I know the fan base for Gil maybe is kind of there, and that's mostly thanks to Street Fighter V when he came out as a character and had the retribution system that kind of made him play his own version of Street Fighter V. But I don't see Gil coming back, at least not for Street Fighter 6. I think they're just going to keep him kind of off to the sidelines. Hugo. Oh boy. So Hugo, Metro City tie-in. He is like one of the like foot soldiers of um, the Mad Gear Gang, which was a gang in Metro City for Final Fight. The fact that it is in Metro City, the World Tour mode. Um, Character lore wise, he's just a big old professional wrestler dude. He was a street thug turned professional wrestler, and then I think in Street Fighter 4, so he was in Street Fighter 3, Second Impact, and then he got a little bit more fleshed out in Third Strike, and then he came back in the last update for Street Fighter 4. And really, all I remember about Street Fighter 4 was potatoes and Mama. They made him into like a really dumb, muscle-headed meathead, which, whatever. I honestly don't think the Metro City connection is enough to put him at a great chance of returning. I think he is a 50-50. I don't think, like, I can see him coming back, but then again, I can also see him not coming back in Third Strike, or not Third Strike, Street Fighter 6. I would love it if Hugo got brought in, but you already have Zangief as like a big, powerful grappler character. And I think with Street Fighter 6, they're going to try to stay away from a lot of duplicate characters as much as they can. So, as a big command grab character, I think Hugo, he's got a 50-50 shot, but I think it's going to be the lower end of 50-50. Say 45%. Urien. So, Urien, not really a whole lot of character links or tie-ins with anyone in Street Fighter 6 as of right now. Um, but I'm going to put him, yeah, I'm going to keep him there. Not likely, but also a shock value character. Uh, Urien's fan base is kind of big. He is part of like the upper echelon of the Third Strike tier list. There's a bunch of people that do like him. His fighting style is weird enough, but again, not a whole lot of mention of the Illuminati, which not necessarily is tied to Urien. I mean, he is the brother of Gil down here, but he was trying to like usurp power from Gil or something. And if the Illuminati's done for, then chances are Urien is not going to be that important to bring back in Street Fighter 6. But I mean, they could write him a different story and bring him in as like the new Illuminati head or something. I don't know, but he does have a higher chance of coming back than Gil. That I am certain of. Makoto. Makoto, I can honestly see Makoto as a 50-50. Um, she doesn't necessarily have a lot of character lore or links with anybody that's currently in 6 right now. Her fighting style is definitely kind of unique. She is a martial artist, pure and through. She doesn't have any fireballs. She doesn't have any like flaming fists or anything. She is just straight up, I'm going to punch you and I'm going to grab you and I'm going to practice my martial arts on you. I know there's definitely a fan base for Makoto, not only in Third Strike but in Street Fighter 4 when she last made her appearance. There's definitely a fan base for her, so I'm comfortable enough to say that she has a 50-50 chance of coming back. Q. Q is weird. I love Q. I played Q quite a bit when I played a lot of Third Strike. Um, and I can. Ooh, Q, his fan base is actually very popular, and that could be enough to push him. I want to put him here as a not likely character or as a shock value character. But you know what? His fan base is really high. And a lot of Capcom like character polls that get posted online, there was actually an official Capcom character poll around Street Fighter V of like which characters would you like to see make a return? Q is usually consistently within the top 5 characters that people want to see come back. For some reason, Capcom just doesn't want to pull the trigger on him. I mean, character lore wise, he doesn't really have a link to anybody that is in 6. He doesn't really have a link to anyone in general. He's just like this weird, mysterious guy that pops up, and he doesn't even have quotes. He grunts and he groans, and he's just a man of mystery. I think that's what really draws people to Q, and his fighting style is just such a reckless, pure, raw power, like reckless abandon style. Like he stumbles around, he has no technique, and that's honestly like one of the things that I really like about him. He's not some crazy mixed martial artist. He's not some magic based user guy. He's not he's not like trained in anything. He's just a brute force brawler. Nobody knows anything about him. And I think that's just what really draws his popularity is his mysteriousness. I think that might be enough to push him in 50-50. I would love to put him up here, but I cannot in good conscience say that. I think he's just at a 50-50 at the moment. Remy. Boy, no one talks about Remy. Remy very much is a Guile-like character. He's got sonic booms. He's a little different in that he has upper and lower sonic booms, so he's kind of like Sagat with a Tiger Shot. He also has a flash kick, but his story's not really that important in Street Fighter 3. I kind of forget his story. He's like looking for his father, and his sister is like cryogenically frozen. There's some sort of like thing there. I'm not exactly sure. There is a fan theory that supposedly maybe Guile or Charlie is his father, but that's just a fan theory. Nothing's been proven that either way. It's only because he does like sonic booms and flash kicks to a certain extent. But yeah, no one's really talking about Remy. I don't think anyone really cares about Remy. Guile's already in the game. I can see a reasoning if they put Charlie in, he plays maybe just differently enough from Guile that it could make sense. With Remy, I don't really see it. And like I said, I think in Street Fighter 6, they're going to try to stay away from as many duplicate characters as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and say Remy is not coming into the game, not coming into 6 at all. 12. 12 is weird. 12's a weirdo. Um, he doesn't really have any character lore or links to anybody in 6. I think he's just like a soldier of the Illuminati, and he was tasked with going after Necro over here. Oops. But yeah, if Necro's not in the game, if the Illuminati's not in the game, then 12 is definitely not going to be in the game. Um, he's just going to be a little weirdo that is not going to be in any of the Street Fighter 6 seasons. I feel confident about that. Abel. So now we're in Street Fighter 4. Abel. Oh boy. So Abel was supposed to be the lead protagonist of the Street Fighter 4 series. The only problem is that the dude was generic as hell. Like, there was really no redeeming qualities about him. He has like a mixed martial arts fighting style. And he's just basic white bread boring. Is basically all I can say about Abel. He's just basic white bread boring. And they just kind of floundered him and failed on that front. So there's no real big fan base for Abel. I don't see it happening. As far as like his fighting style, he's got like a mixed martial arts kind of fighting style, but that's kind of filled by Marissa at the moment, and she is a lot cooler than Abel. So yeah, I don't think no one cares about Abel. I don't think he's ever coming back to Street Fighter 6, or I don't think he's coming to Street Fighter 6, and I don't feel like he's ever coming back to Street Fighter in general. That's just me. El Fuerte. Here is a weird fella. I think he doesn't have a likely shot of coming back, but I do see them maybe bringing him in as a shock value character. Um, yes, he's very annoying. His playstyle is definitely very weird, where you have like a command run and you do a bunch of different weird stuff out of it. He's kind of like a one-trick pony like that, but I can definitely see him getting brought back just because the developers would like to show his announcement and then have the audience that like sees the video and just collectively groan at like, oh god, no, not El Fuerte. Um, if they feel like doing that, but yeah, I'm gonna say this is not likely he's going to come back. Character link wise, I mean, I guess he's linked to E Honda in some way, in that Honda has like a Japanese restaurant that he's like, getting off the ground, and El Fuerte and him have like cooking things that are in common because El Fuerte likes food, but he's like really bad at making food, and all this stuff turns out terrible. Um, that's really the only link that is there. He might have a link with Zangief. I'm not 100% sure, only because there's like wrestling. But yeah, not really a big fan base for El Fuerte either. But El Fuerte would definitely be my definition of a shock value character if they would just bring him back willy nilly. Rufus, no. Rufus, no one cares about Rufus. Everyone, I feel like the majority of the Street Fighter universe, the majority of fans of Street Fighter hate Rufus. His character design sucks. He's just a big loudmouth, constantly talking American who can like do weird acrobatic fighting styles. Um, he is also kind of like a dive kick character, kind of like the twins. And honestly, I would like to see the twins more than I would like to see Rufus, because he is just horrible. I don't like him as a character. I mean, character lore and link wise, he is linked with Ken because he claims that he is Ken Master's rival, but Ken's like, I don't even know who you are, and I think Ken just ends up beating him anyway, like whatever. So Rufus can go ahead and stay gone. I don't think anyone is gonna really be clamoring for him. Guken, the master of Ryu and Ken. Boy, I feel like Goken's best chance to become a to be in another game other than Street Fighter 4 would be 5, and they didn't really pull the trigger on that. And in this game, Street Fighter 6, obviously he has the character lore and links with Ryu, Ken, and Akuma. But man, I am maybe character links alone. Character links alone, I'd say maybe 50-50. His fighting style, while he's also a Shoto character, he's definitely a little bit different. He has the ability to fire off fireballs, both standing and an angled fireball that goes up towards the sky. But then again, Dhalsim has something that's kind of similar to that. But then again, Dhalsim's not a Shoto. Um, yeah, you know what? I'm going to stay 50-50. I think Goken has a decent chance of coming into Street Fighter 6. It's probably going to be like a later season character, though. I don't see him coming in next season at all. Um, and as far as a fan base goes, I mean, there might be a fan base for Goken, but it's got to be relatively small. I don't remember him being that popular of a character. But I'm only sticking him up here in 50-50 only because he's got a lot of character links with some of the cast in Street Fighter 6 that's currently available. So we'll stick him 50-50. Seth, I don't think Seth's coming back. Seth, the boss character for Street Fighter 4. His design was kind of weird. He stole moves from other people, so he didn't really have a defining characteristic. They brought him back in 5, and they made him a her. I mean, I guess maybe they're just like, whatever. It's just a computer program fighter guy. I don't know what Seth really is. But yeah, I do not think that they will bring Seth back. He had his like final farewell hurrah in Street Fighter 5. Character lore wise, he does have a link with Juri, but Juri seems like she's pretty much moved past the organization that Seth was a part of, which I think was called Sin or something. And I actually think that she was like a double agent. She was working for Bison, maybe? I'm not exactly sure there, but yeah, I think Seth is not coming back. At least not for Street Fighter 6, for sure. Oh, Hakan. Turkish oiler wrestler Hakan. Man. So, this one's also going to be kind of tricky. Character lore wise, he is a rival slash friend of E Honda. And, I mean, that's really about it for character lore and a link. So, not the strongest. His fan base, he does have some fans, but it's definitely not vocal, definitely not huge. I personally am a huge fan of Hakan. I love that weird, greasy little guy. well, not little guy, he's actually a bigger guy, but Hakan, I feel like his fighting style. This is where it's going to play heavily into him. His fighting style, I feel like, would be perfect for Street Fighter 6. And I say this because Street Fighter 6, for whatever reason, they love their characters that have levels. And by that I mean Jamie's drink level. Every time he drinks a swig, he gets access to more moves, becomes more powerful. You got Manon's metal level, where every time she lands a command grab, every command grab after that will get more powerful. And then you got Lily's wind power, where she builds up enough wind power, which adds more additional strikes to moves. Um, and Hakan, his oil, basically throughout in Street Fighter 4 when he was brought in, he's only been playable in Street Fighter 4. If he oiled up, his range on his command grabs would be a lot better. He could slide around the area. His dashes were a lot more covered more distance. He could also cancel normal moves into other normal moves. So traditionally, you would cancel a normal move into a special move, but he can actually cancel normal moves into normal moves with his FDAC, but or FADC or whatever that acronym is. Um, so I feel like with his fighting style alone, I think he would be a really great fit for Street Fighter 6. I don't think he does have a great chance of returning, but I could definitely see a 50-50 of him coming in. And it's solely based on fighting style alone. I think his fighting style would be a good fit in Street Fighter 6. And this also might be a little bit of my bias as well, because I love Hakan. I loved playing as him in 4. But yeah, so I'm just going to say 50-50, and we'll just leave him there. Oh, wait, that's Jury. She's already in the game. We don't need to worry about her. Oni, the more powerful version of Akuma. We do not need that. Akuma is plenty powerful enough as it is, and I know there's a lot of Akuma people out there that are like, he loses too much health for the amount of damage he has output. Man, I've been smoked by so many Akumas who knew what they were doing. I don't fall for that argument. So I don't feel like we need Oni. Oni can stay in Street Fighter 4. I don't think he really has a huge fan base either. His fighting style, while crazy, it I don't think it's necessarily going to help him push up any further than that. Yeah, nobody really cares. DeCapri, no one really cares about her. She was the final character that was added in Street Fighter 4, and a lot of fans were like pretty deflated and disappointed because DeCapri, while she is not Cammy, she is very much a Cammy clone. They have kind of similar movesets, and there is some differences there, but really not enough to just be like, well, this is a totally different character. Yeah, I feel like DeCapri is. I mean, she has a storyline link with Cammy. I mean, I think she does pop up in like part of Cammy's like World Tour thing. I'm not totally sure. Again, I've not finished World Tour. I've not really gotten high up in Cammy's like trust level or whatever that thing is. But yeah, DeCapri, not that big of a fan base. Fighting style is pretty similar to Cammy's. She only has a link with Cammy. None of it's really working in her favor, so she's just gonna stay and no one cares. Poison. Poison, I honestly think. I think she has a great chance of returning. Poison, being a part of Metro City, Mad Gear Gang, she has a character link with Cody, who is the mayor, who is also in Metro City. I think she actually has a great chance of getting in. Her fighting style is definitely something different. I don't really know that much about it, although I know that it's very annoying to fight against. And I know she definitely has a fan base. There are people that really love Poison, especially when she got introduced into Street Fighter V. She was brought in 4 as a playable character, and she was kind of middling. Not a whole lot of people liked her then because she was basically like a Shoto character. Like she had like a weird uppercut and she had a fireball, which didn't necessarily make sense, I guess, to people. But then she was brought into 5, and they totally redid her and retooled her, and everyone really liked Poison. So I can definitely see this is a fan base addition, and plus the Metro City thing with the World Tour mode. I can definitely see her getting a spot with that. Fong, Fong, no one cares. You have Aki in the game, which is Fong's protege or pupil or whatever. She's obsessed with Fong. Fong is, I feel like, a very deeply unpopular character in Street Fighter. Um, he was a new character in Street Fighter V, and nobody liked him. He was too weird. I didn't really mind him. I tried to play as him, but I just never really got over the hump. But as far as other people are concerned, the fan base is just not there for Fong. They obviously way more prefer Aki than they prefer Fong. Again, his fighting style is weird. It's a poison-based fighting style. Aki already has that, so there's really no different way to change him. Character lore and link-wise, I mean, he does have quite a few. He's got Bison. He's got Sagat now, which I think there is sort of a weird link in that he kind of, I don't know if he disposed Sagat out of the Four Kings or if he just kind of left and he took his place. I'm not exactly sure of the lore there. But obviously he also has a link with Aki. Um, so, I mean, the character links are there, but his popularity just is not. I don't see him ever coming back. At least not for 6. Laura? Hmm. Laura is fairly popular in the fan base. That's just because she's like a hot Brazilian girl. Her fighting style is definitely weird. She's like a hybrid fighting style, kind of like Alex, where she has access to command grabs, but she also has a really powerful strike game. She also has like an electric fireball that's kind of good for setups. Um, but she doesn't really have a whole lot of lore or links associated with anybody in Street Fighter 6. So yeah, I think she's not likely. She's not likely to return. She could be brought back as like a shock value character, but I think the chances of her are pretty slim. Not negative, but pretty slim, which is why she's there. Nikali. Nikali, no one cares. Um, Nikali is like a weird. Nikali is a weird example of how Capcom fumbled Street Fighter V. They pretty much set up Nikali to be like the next big, powerful, like villain character, sort of like an Akuma. Um, and when they released the cinematic story mode, man, did they really not give two craps about Nikali. He kind of shows up and he like has well character lore wise, I guess he has a link with Ryu because of the Satsui no Hado. He wants to devour that energy. I think. If I again, I it's been a while since I played the story mode of 5. I don't remember it because it was terrible. Um, but yeah, he wants to devour the evil power so he can become more powerful. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see Nikali again. I think that was a whoops, wow, we really fumbled this character pretty bad, and we're probably just go ahead and push this fella to the side, and we'll never speak of him ever again. Um, so at least for Street Fighter 6, I don't see him returning ever. Oh boy, Abigail. So I love Abigail. I am one of the very few people that love Abigail. Um, I played as him. I got really good as him. Um, but I definitely know the fan base is not there for him. A lot of Street Fighter fans do not like Abigail, and it's mainly because he's too big. He's a huge character. He took up most of the screen. He was a very ugly looking character. Um, and his fighting style definitely aggravated quite a lot of people because he also had a command run where you could punch, do a somersault kick, or you could do a command grab off of it. And it basically forced you to guess. And if you guessed wrong, you were pretty much eating a ton of damage. Um, Now, they did nerf him as time went on, and he is not necessarily that great of a character right now. I think he's probably in the mid tier of Street Fighter V, if not maybe upper mid tier, but he is still paying for the sins of season 2, season 3 Abigail, where he was just an unstoppable juggernaut that really just won more matches than he lost. So, um, character lore wise, I mean, his scrapyard is in World Tour, Abigail Scrapyard. Um, and I think that's really about it. He doesn't really have. I'm trying to think of all the characters in Street Fighter 6, and he doesn't really have a connection with anybody there. He just has. It's just basically Metro City that he has the link with. So yeah, I'm gonna put him here. He's not likely to return. If he does return, it's going to be like a shock value, and I can almost guarantee you he's going to play radically different than his Street Fighter V counterpart, and that will either really hurt him or it'd be really cool. I'm not exactly sure which, but I don't have high hopes for Abigail returning. Um, Colleen is like Gil's secretary or assistant or something like that. If Gil is not in the game and if the Illuminati is not mentioned in Street Fighter 6, then she is staying put and no one cares. I don't really think she has that big of a fan base. Her fighting style, while kind of cool, incorporated a lot of ice attacks and stuff, I don't really see it meshing well with 6. And she doesn't really have a whole lot of character lore or links with anyone that is currently in Street Fighter 6. So yeah, she's just nobody cares. Menat. Hmm. I am actually gonna bump her up to. Hmm. She does have some character lore with Dhalsim. Not much, but she does. But that's it. That's really the only character I could think of that she has any relevancy to with Street Fighter 6. Her fighting style is definitely weird. A lot of like keep away attacks with her orb. Um, and she does have a good strong fan base. There are people that really like Menat. They are very vocal about Menat, but also the fan base is kind of small. So I'm gonna stick her with not likely. Um, really, I'm just sticking her there because the fan base is very vocal about her. I feel like Menat would be like she'd pretty much be treated like Ingrid. She would be brought back, and people would be shocked that she got brought back. Whether positive or negative, that's up to the person. But I feel like that's not likely. Zeku. Well, I guess Zeku, he does sort of have a link with Kimberly in that I think Guy trained Kimberly and Guy's master is Zeku. Guy being this guy right here. Um, and he's also one of those fighting styles where he has two very distinct fighting styles. Um, kind of like how Gen is, but I don't know. I think the thing that pushed Gen up for me over Zeku is that Gen has a link with Akuma, and I think he has a link with Chun Li too. Zeku only has a link with Kimberly through Guy, and Guy is not in the game. So I am gonna go ahead and say he's not likely to return. Um, so I'm gonna stick him there for now. If Guy were to somehow magically be brought into 6, then I think I would probably bump him up to 50-50. But for right now, he's just going to be as a not likely. We don't have that many characters left. So, Falk. Man, you want to talk about a character that has no personality at all. That is Falk. Now, I understand that Ed is in the game, and Falk is like her second in command. Or Falk is his second in command, I guess, somehow. But I don't see her coming back at all. She's not necessarily popular with the fan base. Her fighting style is kind of weird. She has a staff attack that does like fireballs and psycho power stuff. Um, Character lore and links. I mean, she does have a link with Bison, and I guess in a weird way, maybe JP, because JP was a part of Shadowloo. And she has a link with Ed. Oh God, man, her personality though is just not doing it. You know what? I'll put her at not likely. The only thing carrying her is her links with Ed and Bison. Um, so I can see her possibly coming into Street Fighter 6. Her fight style is definitely different. It's more like she treats the staff as like kind of a gun in a way, because her fireball game was kind of revolved around the staff. Um, which would be interesting, I guess, maybe to see. I was gonna put her in No One Cares and say she was bland and boring and move on, but you know what? Now that I'm actually talking it out, she has some character links to Street Fighter 6. Her fighting style is unique enough to maybe carry over the fact that her fan base is probably very small. So not likely. Shock value character. If she gets brought back, it would definitely be a shock value. G. Oh boy. President of the World G. I don't necessarily know his lore other than he claims to be the president of the world. I'm not sure if he belongs to like some sort of group like the Illuminati or something like that. I do know that supposedly they have said that G is somehow related to Q, but they are not the same person. Um, hmm. You know what? I might have to bump him up to 50-50. Mainly because, well, he doesn't really have any lore or links with anybody in 6 that I know of. His fighting style, though, can actually be incorporated well into Street Fighter 6 because he has a leveling system as well. He gets power from the earth and he kind of levels up the way he fights, which adds more damage and more combo ability. And Street Fighter 6 is definitely a game where they like their levels. I've already explained that before. So, you know what? I'm going to put G as 50-50. Um, I think he's got a moderate chance of coming in. So, we'll see. Kage. Here's a really interesting conundrum. So, Kage, we have Evil Ryu. Evil Ryu and Kage supposedly are not the same person, lore wise, if I remember right. Um, character lore, obviously, he's related to Ryu in some way. He's also related to Akuma. His fighting style is another Shoto character, but he does like a lot of Dark Hado teleporting shenanigans as well. But I feel like the fan base for Kage is definitely not nearly as powerful as Evil Ryu. Um, so if they were to make a choice of either putting Evil Ryu or Kage in the game, I think they're gonna stick with Evil Ryu. So Kage, yeah, nobody cares. I don't think Kage's coming back. Lucia. So this is definitely my own personal thoughts, my own personal opinions, but I am confident enough to say that Lucia has a great chance of returning. Now, hear me out. Character lore wise and link wise, she is the member of the police force for Metro City. And again, Metro City takes place in the World Tour mode. And you don't really see a whole lot of cops running around Metro City, but I feel like if they wanted to bring Lucia back, they have a built-in reason for it, and that is World Tour mode. Her fighting style is definitely weird. It's a lot of weird fireball shenanigans, which I feel like Dhalsim actually has quite a bit of. So they might have to like retool her fighting style just a little bit. But I think honestly, this is just me and my gut feeling. I feel like she has a great chance of returning, 75% and above. And it's solely because of World Tour mode. And I think the fan base is kind of there for her. Not real high because she was kind of in the latter half of Street Fighter V. So I think by that point there wasn't a whole lot of people like playing a whole lot of Street Fighter V. Like it definitely was not making the numbers that it was initially. Like Street Fighter V came out, it was actually kind of rough. People played it though, and then the seasons came on, and I feel like maybe it got a little bit more popular as it went, but I feel like Lucia just kind of fell by the wayside. But the fan base probably isn't there. I know that was kind of like weird and was it like a oxymoronic that I just said? But I'm so basing this her chances of returning to Street Fighter Six solely on Metro City. So that's my gut feeling. We'll see what happens though. That's like the only dark horse that I can really think of. Akira, she's a member of the Rival Schools games, and she was brought in because a lot of people, again, one of those like Capcom fighter polls of like, what characters would you like to see from other game series come into Street Fighter? And I feel like she was probably one of the more popular ones from Rival Schools, and they did. She was part of that like make good last season of Street Fighter Five, and people really liked her. But I don't outside of Street Fighter Five, I don't see her really coming into Street Fighter Six. As far as I know, I did not play her. I did not finish her arcade ladder, so I don't know if she really has any like links or lore with anybody in Street Fighter. She might. Well, I can't even say that because Sakura's not in the game. I was gonna say she might have a link with Sakura, but I can't 100% definitively say that because I do not know Rival Schools at all. So. I don't think it's not that nobody cares. I don't see a character lore reason to bring her back. Her fighting style is more like martial arts brutalist fight style, which hey, it's more realistic. I'm sure they would probably like to have more realistic fighters in Street Fighter at some point. The fan base, she does have a strong fan base, but I personally just don't see her coming into Street Fighter 6. And then the last character we have, 11. 11 is weird. 11 technically is not a character. 11 was added as a random select to Street Fighter 5. So you would basically pick 11 and then on the like flare screen as you're getting ready to go into the match, he would morph into a random character with random V skill, V trigger, and yeah. So I don't see him fleshing. I don't see them fleshing him out. He was just like a random character skin. That's all. It would be neat if they, because I know I have friends, a friend who did this. He basically they treat random character as its own character. So it would have been kind of neat to see him as a random character select in Street Fighter 6 to continue that kind of like funny little thing. But yeah, I don't see him ever coming back. So I think that will do it. So again, just to reiterate, 100% will return. These are characters that I definitely feel like are definitely coming. Obviously, Balrog and Vega. These are two characters from original Street Fighter 2 that I feel like they have to be in the game at some point. Great chance of returning. Obviously, you got Sakura because Ryu's there, and Ryu's such a strong part of Street Fighter. I mean, I feel like she's never that far behind. Then you got what, one, two, three characters from Metro City. You got Sean, who has a strong character link with Ken, and then you got the twins, who has a strong character link with Chun Li and Jamie. I feel like that could definitely help sway the favor. And you got these 50-50 characters, characters that could join the game, characters that could not join the game. I mean, they got some reasons to be considered as characters in the game, but if they don't come in, I can totally see why as well. And then the not likely shock value, these are like, these characters got a 25% chance of making it in the game. Or, these certain characters are really only being brought back because they want to like shake up the fan base with a character that is retooled in some way. And then you got these characters who no one cares about, no one talks about, no one has any idea that some of these characters even exist anymore. So yep, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this list, and I guess that's about it. I know I keep saying that's about it, but that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this Cesspock and Demon Liar.